no filter. Just beautiful natural light. I don't know. I took the van out just because I needed to run my car. It's the tour van. It looks like I'm touring to a mile from my house. Sunset's beautiful. No filter, just light. People must be stir crazy just driving past the lake. It was way less busy on all the other streets. I'm in my car. Well, the tour van. The van we bought to go on the road with Cloud Light last year. Well, bought it. Oh man, I forgot I had short hair for a second. I was like, where's my hair? I don't have much to say. I just felt like I should get out and maybe write some songs, but really I just got out. Ooh, my mascara is all over. I don't really wear makeup anymore with the quarantine. I mean, some days I think of it because I'm like, people are just staring at my face with this whole teaching lessons over FaceTime thing, but there's light in my hair. It's a sunset. Let's see if I can capture it for you. It worked better from the other angle. There. So, I could have parked in a more peaceful spot. There's a lot of cars going by here. Probably all the stir-crazy people just saying, let's just go drive by the lake. I don't see many people out of their cars, thankfully, or, you know, I don't see people like congregating close together, but, you know, living in a tourist town, I don't know what this will look like with the quarantine and with social distancing. Well, I thought about writing a song, but I don't know what I want to say. I don't know what's in my heart to say. It's the day after my birthday, and I will just say that you can truly, well, I shouldn't say, I don't know if this is true for everyone, but I can truly, apparently, have fun, even with very small amounts of things. My sister and her family sent a present, lots of, like, homemade things, like, ooh, hang on. Ah! Now you know the lines on my hand. Friendship bracelet from my niece. Homemade cards from those kids. My parents sent a card with some money. Yeah. Really nice presents, really thoughtful presents. My boyfriend bought me a rainbow cake and made me a home-cooked fish fry on Friday. This is just a wholesome little video where I'm talking about nothing. I could say, and now I'll write a song, because I feel like my rambly videos are too long and they're like journaling, but not. They're just kind of here. They don't usually say anything profound unless sometimes they do. Usually if something profound is said, it's said at the same moment I'm thinking it for the first time, and so it's like as much of an epiphany for me as it might be for you. Probably these are just for me, but they're helping me track time the same way my journals always have. I've been way more into journaling lately. I'm not doing this very much anymore, which has been kind of therapeutic for me to shift back into journaling. It came from organizing the basement and noticing I had all these beloved journals down there from way back into college and childhood even. I found my first diary even from like 5th grade. I might have had ones from younger, but the 5th grade one's the cutest. I'm parked in front of a little inn that I think looks really cute whenever I see it in a skyline of Grand Haven from the lighthouse. Big fan of clouds, big fan of sunsets. When I was in Hawaii, they were famous for their sunsets and, you know, traveling all the way there. And I was there on a kind of sad pretense, a kind of forced wedding, forced by myself into a wedding, even though I had all kinds of doubts and hesitations. I just really wanted to have a wedding, and I didn't wait for the right person to come around, and I went against so many, and it was not just being manipulated, and no offense to that person who I talk about this freely sometimes, but I don't think his love was not manipulative. It's just that he was manipulative because he had learned some bad habits. But in the end, it was very much my choice to carry through with it all and go all the way to having a wedding with a person that I felt love for, but my love for him was more like pity. And it wasn't a balanced relationship because I was doing most of the work and he was guiltily accepting that. And I never want to be in that place again, friendship-wise, boyfriend-wise. Well, I don't ever want to find any other boyfriend. But I don't ever want to be in that imbalanced type of situation again. We watched the Mr. Rogers movie last night, and I'm trying to put this down so I can act this out for you and learn the sign language for friend. And that really hit me because my friendships have not often been, you know, equal like that. There were a few key people in my life who I accidentally burdened too much when I was going through hard times, and then most of the other scenarios were situations where I was accepting anything because I didn't think I could have friends any other way. I was often left out as a kid. Whoa, cool sunset. Whoa. That is majestic. It's like hot pink. It was like neon pink. And the clouds are pink and the sky is pink. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So Hawaii. So I'm in Hawaii on this honeymoon I shouldn't have been on with this person that the chemistry was long gone because of how dysfunctional our relationship had gotten. And so we were there in an almost friendship way, and it wasn't even good friends anymore because of how much I was hurting inside that relationship. But nonetheless, there we were in Hawaii and traveling to a place to see a sunset and eating a dinner on the ocean, and the sunset in hindsight was very yellow, and the sunsets here are often very pink and orange. And I remember thinking, because I had already been to Michigan, I remember thinking, because my ex was from Michigan, I'm not originally, but I remember thinking like, wait, the sunsets are way better in Michigan. And then I started thinking of all kinds of places where the sunsets were better, like Appleton, Wisconsin, just randomly from my dorm room. And I was like, Hawaii, come on, what's going on? But, you know, I think it's more the all-inclusiveness that made Hawaii so beautiful. And that could have just been my experience at that time. I mean, who knows? Maybe the sunsets are beautiful and we just caught a weird night. But like all this color, the purples and the blues and the yellows. I mean, I'm just chilling in my car a mile from home right now. I'm just running my engine. It's quarantine life. I haven't driven this minivan in like almost a month. Yeah, I think I stopped teaching in my students' houses around... yeah, it was right around after I got a root canal because I was on a medication that said my immune system would be down while I was on this steroid. And so I asked them, I thought I was being a little too precautious with things, but it turned out not to be the case because the next week it was strongly recommended that we socially distance. And so the week of the root canal, gosh, what would that have been? I don't know, maybe mid-March. So it has been like a month of just being at home most of the time. I've gone out a few times. Like one time I sat over there in a parking lot and wrote a bunch of songs. And those ones were called like Parked Car Thoughts. And the night before that, I wrote songs at home. Let's see where one else. Oh, and then I drove over like a mile downtown. You got to go that way and then around the curve. And then you go past the channel in downtown Grand Haven. And then you end up on the main downtown strip, Washington. And Washington had my favorite pretzel shop was down there. But that's the day I found out that they were closing for good. Not just for the quarantine. They have a big location over in Spring Lake, which is if you go down there, or you could go back that way past the beach. And you go around, and then Spring Lake is like over the main bridge heading north in Michigan. And there's like a main bakery called Village Baker. But my tiny little one that was in Grand Haven, like the sister shop, Baker's Wife, is like shut down for good. So I wrote a couple songs, I think, over there. I'm learning I'm a little OCD. I just kind of list things and I keep track of things and I keep track of dates and I keep track of songs and I keep track of albums and I keep track of, I mark my own time and my own life in albums and in experiences and in places that I've lived. And I think that's why living in Michigan this long is actually disturbing me, because I don't know how to have multiple chapters in one place. Like, I don't know how to move on from something without a different place. Like, New York City was incredibly hard for me. I was gonna just say New York, but maybe I'll go live in the Catskill Mountains someday, and I don't want to say New York to mean the city and the state, but the state is some beautiful, peaceful place. I mean, mostly I've driven through Pennsylvania, but I was in a touring children's theater for a long time, and that New York State is more like, you know, Appalachian Mountains and beautiful and green. And anyway, New York City is where I lived for 2 years and lived there during 9/11, and part of me wishes that I could have stayed if I could have afforded to do it, but it's weird to me to imagine a reality where I had more than that chapter there. And then later when I was living in Chicago, I remember how painful it was to like reinvent, you know, after I broke up with a different ex, to like reinvent in the same neighborhood how to live in and love that neighborhood, when only a half a mile away I had had one life there, and now a half a mile later I had a whole different life. And maybe that's why this quarantine hasn't been that hard on me, is because as a person with a very hard time redefining reality, coming out of traumas, coming out of bad relationships, a bad marriage, coming out of fallen apart friendships, even just good things. I remember when college ended and I cried so hard because my life was Appleton, Wisconsin, and it was that conservatory and it was that structure. And I just cried for like, I don't even know how long. I remember being so sad and not knowing what to do with those feelings. And then I like left that in Appleton, Wisconsin. And you know, how do people have chapters in the same place? I don't know. Like Racine, I guess I know from Racine because I was there for 18 years, but I have like childhood, you know, age 10 and under is like one vibe. I got like the high school years that are a whole different vibe. I don't know. I don't know how people do it. Like live a whole life in one place with that place as your core. Part of me feels like I could live in Grand Haven for a long time, but I can't get my mind around Michigan. I don't know if it's because of stuff with my ex. I don't know if it's because of politics around here or different values of this particular community of Grand Haven. I don't know if it's because it's far from my family. My family now lives mostly in the Minneapolis area, but also in Colorado. I don't know if it's because I don't have a job that makes me feel like this job is holding me here. I have students and all of them are virtual now, and it's fine. I'm sure all of them would prefer to be in person, but I don't feel like I'm, like if you were working at like a college, you would feel the weight of that college and you would feel the groundedness of that job in that college, in that place, in that town, and you would feel those people all being part of it with you like a community. And I've done that. I did that with that accompanying job at a high school, but there was a lot of dysfunction there, and I replaced somebody who went to prison. So the job that I filled basically a trauma hole in a community. In that community of that school, I filled their hole, their trauma. And I had to play that role, like play the job role, and then just also be there as a placeholder from a wound, a collective wound they all had. And I wouldn't ever do that again. It was very hard on me. I feel like I picked up a lot of their trauma. And I tried to process it for them, but you can't. I don't know. I don't know why that didn't kill my savior syndrome. I don't know why that, in the end, kind of made it worse. Like, I think being in 12-step rooms for a little while, I was in the 12-step world for about 5 years, and that's where I developed my savior syndrome, because it was either living in those 12-step rooms with a feeling of brokenness, like I need help and I need healing, or getting out of that feeling of helplessness and helping others. And it was too hard to always feel like the weak one that needed help. And the way to have any sense of dignity in those rooms was to quick turn around and help others who were in a worse position than you. But I don't even have a problem with alcohol. So I just kind of faked that for my ex in hindsight. Like, maybe I did in college, but like now I can have one glass of wine or a drink and it's not a big deal, and I don't do it every night at all, and it's just not a big thing at all to me. So if you're someone I knew in AA, I was in there for pretend. I was in there for my ex, and I was in there because the people I met in Al-Anon, which did help me and I did need, I just happened to run across a really pushy group, and they suggested that I go to AA because of things that were over a decade in my past that were related to college binge drinking. So, please, sensitive, tender ones in the world, do not let other people tell you your story. Do not let other people tell you what you need. The one good thing that came out of that whole world was a kind-hearted woman. We'll call her Love. But she has a lovely name. But anyway, but in that world, I met a woman who really helped me. And she was very kind. And she knew a lot. And the best thing she knew was not to push people towards her idea of what would be their best path. I don't know. She had a soft spirituality that was more like emotional wisdom, like a high EQ. She helped me more than anyone probably ever in my life, except for my sister. But even the way my sister was able to help was helped by knowing this lovely woman. So the biggest reason I needed to get out of the 12-step world, and I will share this with you in case you're someone who's tried it and it doesn't fit for me, the God piece didn't hurt me. What hurt me was the fact that my trauma is connected to secrecy. People telling me I had to keep their secrets for them. Abusive people telling me not to tell certain things. And so to be in a community like the 12-step world, where everybody's telling you you must protect their anonymity, secrets, that's not helpful for me. I can't reconcile my own trauma while living in a new trauma. I can't reconcile my own trauma while you're telling me I have to live an artificial life and I have to split myself and hide everyone I know and everything I do. Because they were telling me do more and more meetings and, get really involved. And it's like, well, that means you're saying have more and more of your life be part of this secret world. And that doesn't work for me. I don't do secrets like that anymore. For my sanity, for your sanity, for the world, I cannot do that. I don't believe in it. If it helps you because maybe you have a job and you need it to be anonymous, that you come to these meetings, and it helps you to have that safety of the secrecy, then more power to you. Please continue doing it. But for me, it was super destructive to be gaining more and more friends and connections in a world that required me to hide that world. And that's my truth. And there were people in there that I deeply loved, but I lost those friendships when I couldn't reconcile how to stay friends with them after I turned on that model and came to hate that model, came to feel betrayed by that model that told me that I would find peace and solace in that model, and instead I found a greater wound. I found that when I went back to Chicago, I just felt wounded. I felt like all these places where I had left my truth in my heart had turned on me. And now I couldn't go to those neighborhoods without feeling afraid that people would ask me where I went. And I couldn't tell them the reason. I did a couple times tell people the reason why I no longer believed in those 12-step meetings for me, and I feel like I was offensive when I would say that. And quite a few of them even said, I don't care. They just still wanted to be my friend, and I didn't know how to do it. And that's my trauma, that I didn't know how to make that separation and take that friend into the next chapter of my life. I didn't know how to do it. And if you're one of those people, I'm very sorry. I don't sound sorry because I've never had this thought before, but I am sorry. And I probably think of you sometimes. And I cherish those positive parts of the memories and the conversations we had. And I wish that I were a stronger person who could take pieces from my past that belong to other memories in my mind, and I could let them grow forward. I guess that's what I'm saying I wish I could do in a city. You know, how do you live in a city? How do you take a place that has memories of something that was toxic for you? And now I'm not talking about the 12-step rooms. But like this place, there are certain moments that I spent in this place that those moments, the memories of those moments are full-blown toxic for me. They remind me of ways that I was so broken that I didn't think I would heal or even live. Going through a divorce, only 20 minutes north of here is where I lived when I moved out from my ex. Like, it's, how do you live inside of a place that contains trauma and proceed to have light and no trauma? Because right now in my life, I just had one of the best birthdays of my life yesterday. I don't really have trauma right now. I have a lot of love. I have a kind-hearted boyfriend. I have a beautiful sister, best friend. I have a big family of nieces and nephews and brother, sister, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, parents. We all tried house party. It was very hard to hear each other, but they sang happy birthday to me and it was cute. House party's like an app, like Zoom. I don't have trauma right now, and I just happen to be living in a place where there was trauma for me in the past, and it's like, how is that possible? It actually feels more possible in quarantine. The more I've just stayed in our house doesn't have much trauma for me, and me and Brian enjoy each other there, and we spend a lot of time in deep love of each other. And I spend a lot of the time journaling, making music, playing with my own stuff, or on the phone with my sister or family members. It's not trauma for me, and maybe that's horrific selfishness, that I don't get out of this little peace bubble, this little safety bubble, even though I know the hashtags say stay home. But like, part of me sees some of my friends who get out of themselves more and go volunteer and do things, even when it puts their own life at risk or the lives of those they love. And nope, letting that one go right now. I've had enough trauma in my life. I'm sorry that I'm not as strong as some of you. Some of you that are very strong, I know, have not lived through what I've lived through. I probably have brain damage from the number of times my head was thrown into the floor. I'm smiling as I say that because I'm not in it anymore. But it was horrifying stuff. One particular ex, I was only with him for a year, but it was very, very bad. 9 months, actually. Anyway. Well, I guess I want to kind of try to write a song, but I don't know how it's going to go here. Let's try that. And that. And that. That's just like a blue sky. There's nothing to it. How's that? Well, now you won't see me play guitar. Huh. It's kind of pretty. Alright, good enough. Here you go. I'm gonna try to write a song. Hey moon, hey sunshine, your blue eyes I see you, I hear you, and your beauty, and I'm afraid I might like it here today and tomorrow too. I'm so in love with you, and you do not need me, do not want me, do not understand what it feels like to witness you when this is foreign land. And you wait for me to grow before you'll care about these words. You will wait to see if I'll grow roots before you'll care about this song. And I will wait to see if I will grow roots or if I'll keep wandering. I don't know what this is. I'm just rambling. These are not... What this used to do for me was something similar to journaling, whereas now I journal again, and I don't see myself putting this up on the internet because most people weren't watching these. And for the few people who were watching these, I stopped understanding what I got out of knowing that a few people were watching these. Because why were you watching these? What do you get out of watching my life unfold? I guess I stopped understanding. Because we weren't having an interactive relationship, and maybe that's good because that's what I've always avoided or not wanted about the fame experience, even if it's just famous to a few people. If it had to be interactive, I probably would have stopped sharing these. And that's really weird. Then why do I put them up if I don't want to interact with you? And something in me now is like splitting a little bit or reconnecting to my roots, which tells me that my roots tell me to just put up the art, put up the things that I've refined and polished that make me feel like I've created art, not things that make me feel like I've shared my journal. I don't know. That's where I'm at right now. I might still share this one, but I don't know what I get out of it anymore. Other than a place to organize my videos. That's part of it. YouTube is a very organized, linear way, and I found out I'm super frickin' OCD. And to just leave these in my own camera. It's the same way that I feel sometimes if I have all these beautiful pictures of my nieces and nephews and family time and I have nowhere to put it and organize it, and it's just in these disorganized folders by month, and I'm like, ugh, it makes me feel anxious. And so similarly, well, my phone is full, so thanks for watching or listening or finding value in my journey. I'm enjoying being way more introverted, and I hope you're getting something out of this strange quarantine time too. Deep thoughts, feelings, I don't know. Connection with yourself. That's what I get, I guess. Bye. Hello. I just wanted to take one more little clip and see if my phone had enough room to do so. Mostly because it's the end of the sunset. And it's pretty. It's Grand Haven, Michigan. Probably can't see the waves anymore. I can't really see them, but... Well, oh, I can see them when I don't look at the screen.